So there's an old saying that goes, there's no such thing as bad pizza, just average pizza or great pizza. Now, I think that that applies to Survivor games as well. And just to be clear, I mean Survivor, not survival. Although one can say that if I have one weakness, it's, well, a massive muscle. Weakness is actually my weakness, but the other one would be Survivor games. I love Survivor games. I can honestly say I don't believe I've played a really bad Survivor. And today we're going to look at a game called Primal Survivors. Let's see if my streak of not playing a bad Survivor game will be broken. But before we get into that, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel out, lets me get you guys more gift cards, and literally every dollar I earn from YouTube, I just give it away to you guys in gift cards. So let's keep that going. And one extra little note, gotta thank the publisher for Primal Survivors who hooked me up with the review code to allow me to review this game. But I'm not gonna lie, this game sort of started off in a negative manner with me. You see, when I saw this game Primal Survivors, and it had all this like prehistoric imagery and caveman and stuff, I assumed there was going to be dinosaurs. Now I know, all of you historians out there, well, actually cavemen weren't around when dinosaurs were. I know that, okay? But prehistoric usually means dinosaurs. I don't know. That's my bad. It is. I'm not going to claim that they said that there was a lot of dinosaur action or anything. No, they didn't. And to be honest, I don't even know how a bunch of dinosaurs running around in a Survivor type game would look. So it's good they didn't do that, but I just gotta say, I wanted more dinosaurs. And this game follows the same pattern of every other Survivor type game, where you have limited characters, limited weapons, everything at the beginning, and then as this gigantic swarm of enemies is attacking you, well, you're constantly moving and running away, much like I do when I have to take the trash out and the giant raccoon that lives in my garage comes out of the garage hissing at me. But meanwhile, while you're running away from this mob, you're also slowly whittling the numbers down. You're rewarded with taking out these enemies by getting experience points and sometimes some form of currency. Now, the experience points go directly into your level that you currently are, and as soon as you break that threshold into a new level, you're rewarded with the skill. Like 3 that you can choose from, and it doesn't really matter which one you choose at the beginning, as long as you sort of stay along that same skill line. It's pretty cool the way that they have this setup where you can basically be an individual who does a lot more like crit damage or poison damage, elemental damage, things like that. And as long as you strategize your skills, you're going to be relatively powerful when the boss comes out. And in this game, there are up to 3 bosses that are unique and have their own set of skills, their own set of moves that really take a lot of memorization. Win, lose, or draw, you're taken back to the main menu where you can then spend that currency that you collected during the game. And you can buy things like different game modes, or weapons, or even upgrades for your primal. And if you're thinking, Nima, what's a primal? You never brought this up. You're right, I didn't. Well, a primal is something that you can summon during the game. Let's just say you're being overtaken by too many monsters, you don't know what to do, or you actually strategize the different skills that your primal will activate when summoned. You can just summon them with one click of a button. Now, this summon will regenerate over time, and as you upgrade it and strategize its skills, you can make it incredibly powerful. Now, to be honest, in the first kind of 2 modes, I would say, of the game, you don't really use your primal very much because simply you don't really need it. The game is relatively easy at the beginning, and you kind of even forget that you have one until you need one. Honestly, I ended up spending most of my currency on weapons, but that was just the path I chose. But ultimately, the game performed really well. I never had any lagging, stuttering, or crashes, or anything of that nature. I will say though, for me, I had a couple issues with the game. One being the environment doesn't change very often, and so that gets kind of repetitive, I guess. It didn't really bother me, but it did bother a friend of mine who checked it out. But for me, there was 2 things that bothered me. One is it doesn't have an auto attack like a lot of the Survivor games do. You actually have to physically click the button to attack, and usually I just held the button down, but it was still kind of something that hindered me a little bit, and it was slightly annoying. Now, I get why they do it, because when you're attacking, your character slows down, and so if you have that button held down, your character doesn't move very fast. Although, neither did the mob, so I never really had to worry about that, not until later on. But it still became something of an annoyance, but I do get what they were trying to do by expanding your skills a little bit and trading off the attack for the speed of your character. But I do get what they were trying to do. It's just I'm not a fan of that mechanic. For me, it really seemed to bog the game down a little bit. But as far as the actual value of this game, I'd say it's pretty good because right now it says it's on sale for $6.83, which is weird. And honestly, I'm not sure if that's like Nintendo's website or if the game is actually $6.83. I don't know. Either way, it's worth it. And if you're like me and you fly through Survivor type games, then you should definitely check it out. It's a solid Survivor type game. Is it the best? No. But ultimately, it's a lot of fun for what it is. It's a good pick up and play type game. I would rate this game at about a 6.5 out of 10, but let me know your thoughts on the game down below. But now I want to talk about another game, a game called Parasol Stars, the Story of Bubble Bobble 3. Now in this game, you do play as the iconic dragons Bub and Bob, but unfortunately, in my opinion, you're human. I'm sorry. I know, you're supposed to be excited to be humans, but I want to be the dragons. But that's really the only downside of the game, because they actually added in a few mechanics that I think are pretty cool. Like if you remember the old school Bubble Bobble, you would blow bubbles and you would entrap the enemies in your bubble and then you would go pop it, and that's how you defeat them. Well, now you have an umbrella that you get to hit the enemies with, knocking them off balance and even picking them up and throwing them as a projectile. But these umbrellas actually have the ability to also harness different elemental damage as well, and the umbrella can actually be used as a defensive device as well to shield you from enemy attacks or their projectiles they shoot at you. And just like the predecessors, this game is also level by level, almost in that vertical style, where you drop down in the area and you defeat all the enemies in the area and then you drop down to the next level. And in this game, you're traveling from planet to planet, helping them rid themselves of these enemies that are sometimes in the shape of like musical instruments. Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird, but listen, it's an arcade, old school type game, and it's all here. The thing that I think about when I think of Bubble Bobble was back when I was a kid, my cousin and I would go on these family vacations where they would take us to these cabins like in Branson where we hated it completely. And the only way that we would actually agree to go and not be a problem was if we got to take our PlayStation 2 and our guitars. And our parents would constantly hound us to go sit with them in like the entertainment area. It's right next to the pool. It's where everyone is hanging out. Basically, it's just where our parents were drinking beer, but they wanted us to be there and enjoy family time. We never wanted to go. Finally, my dad was like, well, they do have an arcade. And just to prove to him that our PS2 was better than the arcade, we agreed to go down there. Now, in this arcade area, there was one pool table, one pinball machine, and one arcade. And the arcade game was Bubble Bobble. After checking it out, we admitted the game was pretty fun, but moved on. What was funny is the night after, we'd spend a little bit more time. The night after that, we would spend a little bit more time. Until it finally got to the point where we were saying, hey, when are we going to go to the lounge area? Just so we could go there and finally beat Bubble Bobble. And honestly, I had that same exact feeling when I got to check out this game, thanks to the publisher, by the way, because it has co-op, and has a local co-op at that. So me and my son checked it out, and it was so much fun. It brought me right back into why retro games are incredibly fun. And it is one of those things where you just pick up and play, and work as a team, and be yelling back and forth, watch out for that guy, watch out, just really enjoying the experience, and that's exactly what you want from these games, and this one totally delivers. And it's only, I think, $11.99 for this whole experience, where I gotta say, the game is actually quite long, especially when you figure in the difficulty, but the multiplayer, the co-op, that is where it lives and breathes, at least for me. I did have fun playing a single campaign, but the co-op is where there was a lot more fun, even to the point where my daughter and my wife were bugging us to let them play and pass the controllers back and forth. But I will say grading this game is quite difficult, because when you compare it to modern games, like does it have the content, does it have the graphic, multi-layered complex stories or things of that nature? And no, it doesn't. But what it does do is represent exactly what the game is supposed to be and what it was. So honestly, I give this game an 8 out of 10, but I'm not really sure if that's fair. And I don't know if it's fair on either side of it. It's a lot of fun. It works really well. I had absolutely no problems. I believe they have it priced at a very reasonable price, and it made me remember playing Bubble Bobble as a kid, so that's gotta count for something, right? But let me know what your thoughts are down below on this game, or Primal Survivors, or anything. Let me know what games you're playing right now, which ones you're looking to get, which ones you're excited to get, anything and everything in that comment section, because that does also enter you in a drawing at the end of the week for an eShop card, so might as well comment just for that. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I love y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.